Good news reaches us from the Middle East because Iran and the United States have reached a peace deal with an official signing due to take place in Switzerland on Friday. The US President Donald Trump says it will bring peace and security to the whole region, while Tehran claims it forced the US to accept its terms. The agreement was announced last night by Pakistan's Prime Minister, who has been acting as a mediator. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Minister Helen McEntee has welcomed the announcement on the agreement being reached. She says she hopes there can now be full engagement from all parties to implement the terms to achieve a just and lasting peace across the region, including in Lebanon. Minister McEntee says she'll discuss the latest developments with her EU counterparts when they meet in Luxembourg today. To discuss this further, I'm joined on the line by Neil Robinson, the Professor of Comparative Politics at the University of Limerick, and Hassan Famaraz, an Iranian living in Ennis. And thanks to both of you for joining me on the show. Neil, let's start with yourself on this deal. Given there have been quite a few false dawns, Donald Trump, his favourite phrase, 2 weeks, it'll happen in 2 weeks, and then has said that, a few times they're not sure who they're dealing with in the Iranian regime. How surprising is the speed at which this agreement appears to have come together, and how solid does it seem to you?
Well, I think we should start off with a caveat. This is really more of a memorandum about talks than a deal. So getting to a full deal is still some way away. This, memorandum, if it's signed, is going to provide for the opening up Straits of Hormuz. Is going to give Iran some of the things that they've been asking for, but then the real work, begins to discuss from the West point of view, in particular, Iran's nuclear ambitions, and so we're a long way away from full peace, and we have to see if this memorandum sticks, because we've had multiple false starts. We've had, moments where it looks as though there's going to be a peace deal, but, nothing has followed. There's still uncertainty over, whether Israel will abide by the terms of the memorandum and stop, the fighting in Lebanon. So, it's good that a start has been made, but that's all it is. It's a start. It's not a full peace deal as yet.
But even to have reached this point will surprise many, Neil, because there's such mistrust on both sides, and I suppose particularly from the Iranian side, given the manner of last summer's attack and the joint US-Israel attack that kicked off this latest stage of the war. And it came after, talks had been due to happen, Iran probably feeling a little like they were hoodwinked. So you would understand if they were highly sceptical and wary of even getting to this stage. So for it to have even reached an outline for a peace agreement, does that rather surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me that we've reached an outline for talks, but as I say, I'm sceptical to some extent that that this is a peace deal. I'm sceptical that the Israelis will back off and allow time for the negotiations to happen. I'm sceptical that Iran will accept Israel being let off the hook by the Americans if they continue to fight in Lebanon. And there are voices being raised in Tehran, saying that this isn't going far enough. And then, if there is a deal, if there's a treaty, Donald Trump still has to get it through the American legislature, because treaties need to be ratified by Congress and the Senate, and have been held up there in the past. And even some of his supporters are saying that, they're not sure that this is a good enough deal. They're not happy by some of the language in the memorandum, which seems to give the Iranians some say over the management of the Straits of Hormuz. So, we're still a way away from a full peace deal. So,
Okay.
It's good that it's happened. Let's not be in any doubt about that. But it's far from over.
Yeah, and Hassan Famaraz, as an Iranian, what do you make of your country reaching the outline of a peace agreement with the US? And are you hopeful or sceptical, or a combination of the two?
Well, I am skeptical, as you said, and as Professor Robinson said. And but strangely enough, all parties are claiming victory. Well, in this conflict, I should say there are 4 players, 4 teams. 3 of them are claiming victory: Israel, USA, and the government of Iran. But the 4th team is the people of Iran, who are the losers amidst all this conflict. They have been neglected, ignored. Their voice are not being heard. Human rights is nowhere in the peace talks. And they are talking, they have reduced diplomacy into a literature of builders, constructors, making deals instead of all those other kind of literature we are used to hear. But people are ignored. People are the losers amidst this. But all 3 governments are claiming victory. I don't know why Israel and America are claiming victory, because I know they have weakened Iran militarily. Iran cannot easily target Israel or other countries. But Iran is still powerful enough to rule over its own people. And something is very funny or joke, I don't know, tragedy, comic tragedy, I don't know. The strait was open about 100 days ago. And then there was war, and Israel and U.S. attacked Iran, and this war caused the strait to be closed. And after 100 days, we are told it will be reopened soon. We don't know whether it will or not, but let's hope it will. And then they claim it a victory. We are going back to where we were 100 days ago, and now we are claiming it a victory. The government of Iran can claim victory because they survived the attack, and now they are selling themselves as the regional power, or maybe regional superpower, and also they have this. They are using this as a means against oppressing their own people. They say, look, Israel and America combined couldn't take us down, so you cannot do much.
And that is an important point that I want to put to Neil. And Neil, some of the issues you highlighted, what the US and Israel would want to see in Iranian nuclear capability. We'll get to maybe Israel and Lebanon in just a moment, but that part of it, it seems, there's no appetite in the US for this war. Donald Trump had said he'd be the no wars president, and it's been very different. It's costing them a fortune to be involved in this war. There hasn't been a complete military victory over Iran, and they may look at their nuclear side of things and say, well, we're not going to completely get rid of whatever the US wants us to get rid of, because given what's happened and the fact we're in this war in the first place, and the matter of how that came about, given the talks that were going on, we need a plan B. We need a deterrent to stop the US and Israel from even thinking of doing something like this again.
Yeah, that's a danger. I mean, if you look around the world, many dictators, particularly those who have spent some time in conflict with the United States have had nuclear ambitions, and they have nuclear ambitions because it's the best way to guarantee that you're not removed from power by anyone, your own people or by the United States. For the regime to feel secure in the future, it will probably want to press ahead with some sort of nuclear program, or it will want, sort of fantastic guarantees and the removal of sanctions, so that it has more breathing space economically. It's unlikely that the United States is going to want to concede on either of those things, particularly the nuclear issue. It's not looking as though there's going to be much change or greater security in the region as a result. And yes, sort of obviously the people who suffer are the ordinary citizens of Iran, who suffer from sort of repression and from the economic injustices of regime corruption and Western sanctions.
Hassan, we heard chants of death to the compromiser aimed at Iranian officials involved in the negotiations. I mean, what does that tell us about the divisions within Iran over any outline of a peace agreement? And could that be a factor in a peace deal ultimately not being reached?
It could be. I saw the protesters chanting, death to compromisers, death to traitors to the nation, death to, I don't know, that. Foreign minister, death to foreign minister's deputy, and there was even some clashes on the streets of Tehran, between the radicals themselves. But if the system as a whole decides that they should go for a peace deal, I think those radicals will have to listen. But this is not something new. Many times we have witnessed that those radicals act as the opposition to the government, but they are part of the government, and this is for the international community to convince them that, you see, if we don't accept the deal, it's because of these radicals here. So we don't really know what the real decision is, but I heard the foreign minister saying yesterday that it is okay, we are closing the deal, and it will be officially signed next Friday in Geneva. And we have to wait and see what happens next.
Okay, just to finish with you, Neil, another element of it is what's happened in Lebanon. We saw, the recent launching of rockets by Iran on Israel as a result of what they're doing in Lebanon, which is a bit of a change because it's usually in response to direct attacks on themselves. Israel has said this deal doesn't include its operations in Lebanon. That sounds the red alarm for me, and is why I'd be taking a glass half empty approach to this. How crucial is that element going to be, and how hard can Donald Trump lean on? Because clearly it sounds like he wants this all done and dusted, but as we've seen before, previous US presidents, and him included, have found it hard to keep a rein on Benjamin Netanyahu. So how much potential is there for what Israel is doing in Lebanon to ultimately scupper this?
A great deal of potential. The Iranians are insistent on having Lebanon as part of the arrangements, and always have been. Trump, lost his temper with Netanyahu last week and laid into him, but it doesn't really seem to have made a vast amount of difference. Netanyahu is, of course, keeping his own government together, and the hardliners in his government, people like the defense minister and the minister for national security, have said that they don't think Israel is a party to this. They haven't signed up to it. So, they're fairly insistent that they're going to press ahead. Sort of that gives, sort of power to the arm of radicals within Iran. What we don't know is how good the sort of command and control structures are in Iran at the moment, whether, radical elements within the Revolutionary Guards in particular can be stopped from letting off the odd missile towards Israel, which, sort of runs the risk of starting the conflict again. So, it's all, very, very, very dicey and contingent at the present point in time. And Lebanon and Israel are a major potential flashpoint for it all to go belly up once again.
Okay, we will watch this space, and it's going to be very interesting. What with the World Cup having kicked off, Iran play the first game of the tournament for them in Group G. They take on New Zealand at 2 o'clock tonight into the early hours of Tuesday morning in Los Angeles. And we know the difficulties they've had in getting there and changing their base to Mexico. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction they get in the stadium. But for the moment, Neil Robinson, Professor of Comparative Politics at the University of Limerick, thank you. And thank you as well to Hassan Famaraz, an Iranian living in Ennis, for joining us on that. Lots